Imagine a mother creating her own son using her own cells without any father involved. Or imagine an embryo split into 100 parts and 100 babies are born in a special pot. Does it sound like cloning, IVF, or artificial womb to you? If somebody would have uttered these stories few years back, people would have laughed on them and called them fool. But now, since all these things are scientifically proven, we know that IVF, cloning, and artificial embryo, and there are a lot of other things that are possible now. So, when we look back to our scriptures, our Vedas, our Puranas, we see a pattern. I mean, it was not just stories, there was a scientific reason or a scientific explanation behind all these stories. So, today we'll dive into our history, our scriptures, from the birth of Ganesha to the birth of Kauravas, and many more such stories, which tells us about our scriptures were not just myth, they were not just fantasy stories, but there was a scientific explanation behind everything. So, was these scriptures just a symbolic or just fantasy stories, or they were hinting us about the knowledge that modern science is still uncovering? So, let's see. Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So, today I'll be sharing some stories with you which people often relate to genetics, cloning, DNA, IVF, and organ transplant, which were already written in our ancient scriptures, in our Hindu Sanatan ancient scriptures. So, wait till the end. There is a special story for you waiting in the end. So, let's start with Mahabharata. So, you guys might have heard that there were 100 Kauravas, the children of Gandhari. But is it possible for a woman to give birth to 100 children? No, right? So the story behind it was that Gandhari gave birth to a flesh, not a birth, but there was a flesh released from her body when she was pregnant. So the kingdom, everybody was very unhappy. But sage Vyas, he cut the flesh into 100 pieces and put them in a pot. Then 100 Kauravas were born. So what was that pot? Have you heard about test tube babies? This is how test tube babies are born, right? In modern science, this is possible. It is called IVF, stem cell growth environment, and lab incubation. So I won't tell you more about it. Let's move on to another story, and you'll unravel it by yourself. So let's talk about Ganesha's birth. Parvati created Ganesha from her own cell, from her own hand, without any father involved. So you might have heard this story multiple times. It is mentioned in Shiva Purana as well. This is how Ganesha was born. But according to modern day science, it is called parthenogenesis, reproduction through female gamete without fertilization, or somatic cells, cloning of the DNA of the mother for the cell generation. Biology places a limit to the parthenogenesis, but the analogy is, of course, hard to miss. So let's talk about the birth of Veerbhadra. So it is believed that in rage, Shivji plucked his hair and he cast it on the floor, and Veerbhadra was born. So if we see it as a metaphor, because in our ancient scriptures, a lot of metaphors were used to describe things. So here also, if we see it as a metaphor, so it was a somatic cell or a cloning which happens in today's generation, that from a single piece of DNA, a whole body or a whole DNA cycle is formed, or a whole human is formed. I mean, although it was just a story, but of course you cannot deny the fact that it relates to something very scientific. And again, I would say that maybe in today's generation it is not possible that from a DNA you are creating a whole new body, but you never know. There were a lot of things that were mentioned in our ancient scriptures which are now turning out to be truth. So in future, you never know if this is also possible. Let's again talk about Mahabharata. So in Mahabharata, Ashwini Kumars were divine physicians who used to restore youth, or transplant the body organs, or if somebody was injured, they used to just take care of it. So was it what we call in modern day science the organ transplantation and of the youth restoration, the creams or the surgeries which people go through for restoring their youth? Was it about that? Let's talk about Prajapati's creation by blueprints. So it is believed and it is mentioned in a lot of scriptures that Prajapati used to create human being using intent, second, and blueprints. So what that blueprint was it synthetic biology? Is it like coding he was using to I mean, if we see it as a metaphor, so it is synthetic biology only, where DNA is used as coding. I don't have much words for it to explain, but um, don't you ever see DNA as a coding instrument, or creating life via coding of DNA? So, were our ancestors doing genetics? Not the laboratory thing we do here, but in a whole new, different way, different from everybody. Because all these things were already mentioned in our scriptures, Shiv Purana, Mahabharata, Ramayana. I mean, there are multiple instances of all the genetics things possible. Today I'm just focusing on genetics. Otherwise, there are a lot of other things that are mentioned in our ancient scriptures that this modern science is still trying to uncover. How beautiful our ancient scriptures are, but still we are busy in wars and stupid things, of course. But isn't it surprising? Isn't it amazing? From mantras to genomes, humanity has always asked this question, that how our life was written, how the life started on earth, how we are surviving, what is magic, what is God, who created us, how we were created, what's gonna happen next, what is truth of life. I mean, I have been trying to uncover it from a very long time, but of course I am not that great that in a blink I'll be able to do it. Of course not. There are sages, there are pundits who have been trying to uh, trying to unlock their subconscious, and of course it is not that easy. But is it something we are looking for, I mean, we'll be discovering, or is it something which is already written in our scriptures but we are not ready to accept it, or we are not ready to understand it because we think that it is a myth? Because not everything is myth, and it has been proved lately. A lot of things have been proved. So I'll come up with more such stories, more such interesting facts super soon. uh, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and also comment which story was most fascinating to you, or if you know any such genetic story. I would love to know it, and I would love to create another video about it. I have also added in the description all the sources for all the information I have shared, because I don't want people to be unbugged and believe whatever YouTubers say. So whatever I have done my research, I have added in the description. You can go through it and let me know which one is your favorite story.